Welcome to the Minivan head-to-head competition, where the Honda Odyssey takes on the Toyota Sienna in a 5-category comparison. I'm Alistair Weaver and I'm joined by Edmunds editors James Riswick, who will be representing the Odyssey, and Mike Monticello, who will be telling us all about the Sienna. The first category up is performance. So James, does the Honda have the thrust to make you a cool dad?
Actually, acceleration is basically equal with the Sienna, and its braking was a little disappointing. Regardless, this remains the driver's choice amongst minivans, even if its handling isn't quite as sharp as, say, the previous generation. And one thing that's important about the Odyssey is that it's pretty much the same to drive regardless of the trim level you get.
Well, most Sienna trim levels lean literally more toward comfort than driving dynamics, but the SE model has more responsive steering, and I'd argue is actually better to drive than the Odyssey. Now, the acceleration is dead equal between these two, but keep in mind the Dodge and Chrysler minivans actually have more powerful engines. One of the things I like about the Sienna, though, is it has true manual shifting ability with its automatic transmission, and the Odyssey is just an old-school console lever.
Well, both of you make compelling arguments, but given that I'm in control, I'm going to award the first point to the Odyssey.
I accept your apology.
Moving on to comfort, Mike, would you like to take a ride in the Sienna?
Sure, I mean, even the sportier SE model is pretty comfortable, and the rest of the trim levels positively float on down the highway. All the seats are plush. In the limited model, the third row is power operated, which is good because it's easy, but it's bad because it takes a little longer to operate than the one in the Odyssey. But the Sienna's recliner-like footrests are way cool, and I think that's actually the first time way cool has ever been used for a minivan.
So James, you've got way cool footrests in the Sienna. Is there anything cooler about the Odyssey?
You know, I think I might have to concede comfort to the Sienna here on the Odyssey. Now, that's not to say the Odyssey is uncomfortable. This is really just a scenario of 1A and 1B, but I would point out that both of these vans have 8-passenger capacity. They have 3 seats in the second row, but the Odyssey's is more like a bench, so that middle seat is a little more like a normal seat. In the Sienna, it's more like an odd jump seat in between 2 captain's chairs.
So what we're saying basically, guys, is both of these minivans are great for families, but the Sienna just edges it, and it gets my point. So James, is the Odyssey's interior worthy of an ancient poet, or is it more Homer Simpson?
Well, actually, in terms of minivans, the Odyssey is kind of epic. You know, it does have a great amount of versatility and practicality. It does seat 8, and there's tons of storage bins, including one that's called the Cool Box that allows you to store drinks and, well, keep them cool.
For the Sienna, access to the third row is easier because the second row slides so far forwards, and at the same time it slides really far rearward, so you get really big second row legroom. One of the downsides is it doesn't have a completely flat load floor because of the bits related to that second row, whereas the Odyssey does. And the second row seats in the Sienna are heavy and a little bit difficult to take out, unlike the Odysseys. And the other problem with the Sienna is that some of the controls, like the radio tuning knob, are way far away.
So to be honest, both of you are pretty much in agreement on this one. It's another point to the Odyssey. So most people shopping for minivans are looking for great value for money. Mike, can the Toyota hit back with its low running costs?
Well, the Sienna does start about $2,000 less than the Odyssey when comparing base models. Pricing ranges from $27,000 up to about $50,000 for a fully loaded limited model. Now, neither van really represents unbelievable value in terms of features for your money, but they both have great build quality and reliability. Now, James is probably going to tell you that the Odyssey gets 1 mpg better than the Sienna in fuel economy, and that'll save you what, maybe $150 a year?
You know, actually, I was going to mention that, so thanks for chewing up that time for me.
You're welcome.
But I would say that although the Sienna costs less, you get an equally less amount of equipment. Now, the Odyssey starts at around $29,000, and for that, you get Bluetooth phone and audio, power seats, and an iPod interface. A similarly equipped Sienna costs a bit more, and that applies throughout the range.
So, in terms of value, it's a pretty close run thing, but for me, the Odyssey just shades it once again. Another point to the Honda. Sorry, Mike.
Whatever.
Now, the last category is fun to drive. James, minivans used to be a good advert for celibacy, but you're telling me that the Honda is genuinely fun.
Sure, if you're the kid in the back watching Frozen. If you're the driver, You know, it is the driver's choice. I did say that earlier, but realistically, I think you'd have more fun driving a sedan or a fun SUV. But for the minivan, sure.
So Mike, would you swap a family sedan for a minivan, especially at your advancing years?
Thank you so much. I don't, you know, the SE model is actually somewhat engaging, but it's the only trim level of the Sienna that's actually even remotely fun to drive. But overall, the Sienna lacks the Odyssey's steering feel and sharper handling.
So in conclusion, if you want to be entertained by more than just the stereo, choose the Honda, which gets my point. Now it's the moment you've all been waiting for. The Honda is the winner of our head-to-head competition. My thanks to winner James and loser Mike, and if you'd like to read full reviews of both vehicles, click here or head to edmunds.com.